Today I want to talk about this drawing from the amazing artist and educator Scott Robertson. This drawing, if you haven't noticed, is the cover image on his book, How to Draw. I've had this book for almost a decade right now, and recently I noticed that I have never taken the time to really enjoy a lot of the details that you can see in this drawing. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4 recently, and the book was right in front of me on my desk. And I started, between a quest here and there, really noticing a lot of the details and decision making involved in this amazing result that he achieved. And it's not by chance that this drawing made it to the cover of his book. There are lots of interesting points that we can discuss here. And I'm going to try and slow down a little bit and really take the time. And I ask you all to really take the time. If you can, grab a piece of paper to make some notes on things you notice, or drop a comment down below. Everyone will benefit from that as well, from things that you've noticed. But today I want to talk about four main topics. The first of them is structure and perspective construction. That's really big from his book, and I think it's the main thing that we're going to find here. The second, tools, perspective tools, dividing ellipses. He talks a lot about that in his book as well. The third and really important is lines and line control, line weight control, the function of lines. He has a great tutorial on the topic. I'm going to suggest that in the end of the video, but I think that's the thing that you can mostly bring to your work from observing this. And last but not least, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that here today, design choices. A lot of good design choices on angles, on forms, volumes, shapes, sizes, details, and all of that. So jumping right in, the first thing I want we all to notice is construction. I've seen in a lot of DVDs and instructional videos that you have inside the book How to Draw that Scott sometimes uses underlay grids. So he prints out a grid, perspective grid, 2-point, 3-point, to really help and put under his drawing paper to really help being accurate with his mark making. So this is the first big point I want to have here. Don't be afraid of your tools. Use them. Use perspective grids. It's not cheating. It's so that you free up space in your mind, so you can focus on design, you can focus on line weight choices, you can focus on drawing quality, and not so much in if the perspective is right. Definitely Scott Robertson can eyeball this, but he is focusing on having a great result in drawing, so he's using all the tools that he has available. One thing I really want to point out, this is a photograph, so if we have a scan, this is a lower res scan, I think, from the web. You can see that there is a lot of distortion if we go back and forth because of my lack of ability of taking pictures, and I don't have a scanner here. So it really, when you're taking photographs, be careful. You're gonna distort your drawings. So I'm not even gonna be constructing the grid here because it won't have that kind of detail. But I wanna really emphasize and look at some of these construction lines that we can definitely see here, especially the center line, the line of symmetry. All this vehicle will have to revolve around this line. So everything in construction, volume construction, and I have talked a lot about this in the video that I did on learning perspective, but you can definitely see that he's using a lot of this construction lines here. The center line for this part of the construction here, how big is that? Throwing that on a orthographic view on the ground, so a top view, a plan view. So he's planning out where things will be in the top sense, so that he can understand the overall design. So a lot of this shadow that you see here, the projected shadow, tells us a lot about the overall volumes. So we can see that this goes here, and this is going inside. So there is an angle on the top view. We can see that this angle is going to work here if we look at what's happening in this overall volume. If we had a top view of this truck, it would definitely be what we're seeing here in this shadow that is projected down below. So it's really important to understand this, and product design uses this a lot. You can see the same here with this volume, and understand where it gets to the point where this higher volume here is projecting shadow. So it should continue this way, and we can see even the construction line that he uses here. But you won't see that because of the shadow being projected from this upper structure. So this is very informative when we're trying to understand overall design. And Scott is using a lot of those lines. He's using a very subtle line weight, very gentle, so that it doesn't convey in the final result. If we look at the scan, we can definitely see that this more subtle lines won't be there in the final result if we want to take them out. And there are lots of processes to do that. It can be using levels in Photoshop and trying to clean them out. You can do a pass of cleaning over the drawing as well. And in the animation industry, they use blue pencils to do that. That was a very effective way of getting rid of construction lines. But they are really important. So don't think that they are not there because you can't see them in the final product. We can even see the construction line, the center line here, so that we can understand what the side view of this drawing is going to look like if we do this kind of construction in perspective. And I'm using some of the Photoshop tools here to make it easier. So this is what I want to say about perspective. Use construction lines and grids in your favor to get to a greater result. And it's the same thing with the second topic, tools, and tools in the sense of like ellipses, understanding your minor axes and how that relates to the overall ellipse in circles in perspective. Division, so how to divide in 5 equal parts. And Scott has a great tool in his book to do that, or divide in multiple parts, as we can see here. He also has a great exercise to kind of eyeball it. It's not very accurate in the construction sense, but it looks accurate, so it's good enough. So this is the kind of thing where this will be really used. Sometimes when you're using his book, you can think that you will never use some of the stuff that he's bringing to the discussion, and here is where you're going to use all of that. The third point that I said is lines. In his tutorial that I'm going to talk later on, he divides lines into all of this part. So it can be a cut line, it can be assembly, so more of a construction and bring a lot of believability to the drawing. If that was a real thing and had to be constructed, what that would look like. So contour line to really give a sense of volume to the overall drawing. So understanding what is going around the drawing. Glenn Vilpo talks about that in his method for drawing the figure. So he almost says like for us to think as if the pen was going over that muscle from the figure that he's drawing or from the animal that he's drawing. Try to feel the form, and that's really important here in a hard surface drawing as well. So trying to understand the contours. It can be a little bit of a section line here as well. Design lines, so all the design choices that we can see here, or even graphics that we see over all this design. Silhouette, so the outer contour lines to really emphasize in some specific points what you want. Overlapping lines, so the tire here, and I'm gonna take the lines out, the tire here is in front of the rest of the body of the truck, so it needs to be heavier in line weight so that we really understand that there is a division here. This kind of Y lines that they use a lot, so we can see a lot of them here. There are intersections not only of planes in the two-dimensional sense, but they are also divisions of planes in the three-dimensional sense. So this is behind the tire, this is behind the line that is happening here, going in perspective. So we definitely need this kind of line weights to emphasize that. I don't know all the details here. I have watched the tutorial back in the day, so definitely take your time and go through that. It's a cheap way to really be thoughtful on your decision making on lines, and this is the Gumroad. The link's going to be in the description below. Definitely worth checking out. And here's a very clear way that he emphasizes what he's trying to convey. And last but not least, I don't want to go on too much about this, design choices. I've talked about shapes. We can see a lot of different shapes here that are really interesting. I love this part here with a lot of different triangles. You can see that it's beautiful on its own. It doesn't need even to be the truck here. Abstract way. It's a nice organization of shapes. They have their representation in perspective and volume wise, but they look great in a two-dimensional sense of graphic design. So this kind of overall shapes, if we go back to the lines here, just so that we can see it clearly, it is interesting. Oh, sorry. It is interesting. It is beautiful in its sense, and all the different relationships, the density of details as well. This is all design choices. So we have more of a breathing room here than in here. Here you have a lot of detail. Here you have a lot of detail, and you have simple. I love, and this is the final point I want to make. I love how he connects the shadows in here. This is just more of a silhouette that is super connected. You don't have the line here touching the ground from the tire. If we look at the scanned version, it's even better to understand that all this here is connected. Even here, he could have used a little bit of cleaning here to connect this, and it would be interesting as well. But I love that there is a little bit of an anchor point here for our reading purposes. So a lot of design choices that I'm learning a lot from, and I would definitely love to do a drawing, and you'll see this in other details that I'll bring down the line, where parts are left out. And I think that's the big part of drawing well, is understanding that not everything needs to be there, and understanding where to take things out and where to leave it unfinished will go a long way in conveying a great drawing. So you can see that the high details here and high line weight, low values, darker values, they need this kind of a breathing room back here to have a very balanced drawing overall. So this is my take on it. I would love to hear your comments. If you enjoy this kind of discussion, you would definitely love his book. I'll have a link in the description for you to find it. Also, his tutorial is also a great resource. So check both of them out. Leave in the comments below what you have learned. Even if you go and take his tutorial and then come back to bring your points, that would be awesome, and the whole community would benefit from that. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll definitely see you in another one. Have a great day.